It was sad to see Italian neorealism go. It had such an impact on me as an expression of art that I was really disappointed that there are no longer more neorealist films of that era. Nevertheless, I found solace in the fact that neorealism actually had more of a continuity than I expected. Neorealism influenced the national cinemas of various countries well after 1951. Among those countries is Iran. The Iranian New Wave started in 1969 and lasted in its complete form for around a decade. Iranian films of this genre were often oppositional in nature and critical of the prevailing social conditions. New Wave films most often inscribed a closed-form depiction. The closed form uses interior locations with dark lighting to convey notions of claustrophobia and futility of the will, setting the scene for subsequent impulses of escape among characters. While much less frequently employed during this era, the open form depiction favors introspection towards an early Islamic Eden. These films feature outside locations and open settings, depicting them with natural light and long shots. Michael Hillman, a professor of Persian studies, best articulates the thematic focusing of New Wave films. Hillman says that by and large, the films contain an opposition to the Pahlavi government, concern with the country's socioeconomic underdevelopment, a criticism of westernization, and an expression of cultural nationalism. The most influential New Wave films of the era include Gov, or Cow, by Darius Merjoui, Downpour, directed by Bahram Beyzai, Cheshme, or Eye, directed by Arbi Avanesian, P like Pelican, directed by Parviz Kimyavi, Still Life, directed by Sohrab Shahid Sales, and also directed by Sohrab Shahid Sales, A Simple Event. Such films dwell on ordinary people who are forced to rely on their own identities and social context in the face of treacherous social and economic hurdles. Having watched both Italian Neorealist and Iranian New Wave films, I embarked on a comparison between the two genres. First of all, there were significant amounts of visual parallels between the Italian Neorealist films and the Iranian New Wave films. There was an existence of look-alike films with respect to core elements. You can find close parallels in just even scenery between films like Ossessione and Gov. In both film genres, you have urban-based filmmakers making films in the rural countryside, not just in the city. There is a use of realism, character subjectivity, and an invisible style of filming to ensure spatiotemporal continuity and integrity in both films. Long shots and takes are prevalent. External, real locations and natural lighting are used in both Italian Neorealist and Iranian New Wave cinema. Moving on to narrative and theoretical parallels, both Italian Neorealism and the Iranian New Wave did not last for more than a decade, because the special social and political circumstances that led to their respective rises proceeded. Films from both genres featured the lives of ordinary people, popular beliefs, religious convictions, fear and anxiety, social criticism, and the disturbing effect of strangers on society. Stories were contemporary and realistically displayed parts of life almost tantamount to the documentary style. Non-professional actors were employed alongside experienced actors in both cinemas. Endings were often unhappy and open to multiple interpretations. And finally, a humanistic thirst for unfiltered reality, moral and ethical introspection, and social criticism were thematically prevalent in both cinemas. But there were differences between the two cinemas. Italian Neorealism focused on scenes of post-war destruction, while the Iranian New Wave conveyed inner city and rural underdevelopment. In Italy, there was a master and disciple structure of filmmakers. You had your masters like Visconti or Rossellini, and you had your disciples like Zampa. But in Iran, there was no generational hierarchy. Most of the directors were around the same age and had differing views. Iranian-style improvisation led to much looser causality than Italian neorealist films, and camera positions and movements were both regulated and improvised. The Iranian New Wave not only adopted a moral commitment to a poetics of realism like that of Italian neorealism, but it embarked on a much heavier political commitment to society, one that often led to arrests, imprisonment, torture, and outright banning of films. And because of the threat of censorship, Iranian directors had to often subvert the tenets of neorealism itself with symbolism and mysticism. And the Iranian New Wave was by no means a cohesive film movement. There was no common journal published or professional union between the directors, and directors had differing views on religion and politics, although many of them were leftists. In conclusion, Iran was certainly not post-World War II Italy, which had devastated social and economic systems, a wrecked film industry with literally bombed out facilities like Cinecittà, and restricted import of foreign films. However, the monarchy, the Pahlavi monarchy culture, had accumulated so many psychological and socio-political insults that led to turmoil that Iranian filmmakers and their audiences demanded a new order of cinema, one that was real.